From Carolla One Studios in Glendale, California, this is The Adam Carolla Show. Adam's guest today, Andrew McCarthy, and comedian Kimbles Hume. Plus a call from Mark Geragos with an update on the Menendez Brothers, and we'll do some news with Chris Loxamana. And now, such an alcoholic, he's still drunk on Ocho de Mayo. Adam Carolla.
Yeah, get it on. Got to get it on. No choice, but I got a mandate. Get it on. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for telling a friend. We love that about you. Kimbles Hume, the comedian who's been out on the road with me and semi-local with me, opening and doing a great job. So we thought we'd bring her in all the way from San Diego. Good to see you, Kimbles.
Yes, thanks so much for having me.
And Max Pat is over there.
Hey, you too.
Mark Geragos. I had a text exchange with him in the evening, and he told me that he was inspired by me to take on the Menendez Brothers case because I've always railed about it.
Was it really that rant that you had a few days ago that caused him to make the petition?
No, I've ranted about it to him on more than one occasion with the simple algorithm that I also have two children. You have two kids?
Yes, twin boys, age 7.
That's right. That is correct. And basically, my argument was if one of your sons, 10 years from now, said to the other son, I'm thinking about going in Sunday night with a shotgun and blowing away mom and dad, and your other twin said, this Sunday or a week from this Sunday, then you did a shit job as a parent.
That has to be true, right? I mean...
Look, it's nature or it's nurture.
Yeah.
You're covered. So somebody did a horrible job parenting, but I was saying if a gym coach molested a kid and that kid later on went and killed that gym coach, we'd probably cheer that kid on. So what's the difference between your dad molesting you and you killing him? I get they got the mom too.
Yeah.
But who may have looked the other way during this. But I just was always, they don't pose a threat to society. They've been in for 32 years or whatever it is now. Just let them out. And Mark has picked up the mantle. And as I was saying to him the other night, I was like, first off, you want to talk about time served? I mean, they literally have 30 some odd years, I think, of time served. So they may not have to do anything if he gets hold of that. And that's kind of what he was saying. He cited a case or two to me. So we'll talk to him about it on the phone coming up. But I'm interested.
But it's also interesting to think about the death penalty, isn't it? And think whether that would have happened to them if it had been in a different state.
Yes.
Is that right? So the thought.
Well, sometimes the death penalty takes 35 years to be enacted. Right. So, but it'd be coming up to death penalty time for sure for them.
Which is crazy to think that life could be over for them, or they could be coming back into civilization and actually have a life to live, or somewhat of one.
No, most don't agree with me on this. Or it's not that anyone disagrees with me. It's that they don't know how to fucking think and they refuse to use their brain. There is a huge chasm for me as a citizen between random acts of violence and sort of interfamilial, intercompany, guy killed his business partner to collect his insurance or something like that. I don't approve of it, but it is not rando street crime. That's something that I make a huge distinction of. The law doesn't really do it, and society doesn't really do it. But the scariest people on the planet are the rando street crime people. So we'll talk to him. We'll see what his plan is. I've always said this because I heard this story. There's been these stories about how Bud Light sales are down 31%, and they're really taking it on the chin, and they've lost billions in marketplace and market cap and market this and market that. And politics aside, I've often said, and I've said this to my son, probably in the middle of COVID, he's one of these guys that doesn't like to go along with nonsense, So I said to him, you don't want to wear a mask, and you don't like all the hand washing, and you don't like the social distancing and the lockdowns, and you don't like everything they were wrong about. Mm-hmm. Fine. You may talk shit about it, and you may buck the system, and you may be an agitator. That's all fine. But you have to be good at something. Because if you're good at something, you can't be canceled.
Right.
People talk about, was this person canceled? Was that person canceled? Super skilled people are never canceled. Mm-hmm. You could be a comedian, you could be a writer, you could be a welder. You cannot be canceled if you bring something to the table. Ultimately, that's how we work. If we can make money off of you, or you're really good at something, you can't be canceled. So you got Bud Light, and Bud Light, sort of got canceled. Now, the reason Bud Light got canceled is because anybody pulls up to a bar anywhere in America, orders a Bud Light, and they go, we only got Miller Lite. And you go, yeah, okay. And they just give you the Miller Lite. People don't really do that with Coke and Pepsi. Mm-hmm. Like, if you go out somewhere with Jimmy Kimmel and he orders a Coke and they go, we only got Pepsi, then he'll get an iced tea. But if Bud Light and Miller Lite and Coors Light and Corona Light and 1,000 other lights are pretty indistinguishable, then you can be canceled.
Yeah, half the time people just ask for a light beer.
Right.
I don't even ask for it by brand.
No,
just
like
a light beer.
You want a light beer because you're trying to save some calories.
Yeah.
You're on an airplane and you go, what do you got? Just give me a light beer. Mm-hmm. And they go, Bud Light. And we only have Miller Lite. Or we only have Bud Light. And then you go, just bring whatever it is. It's carbonated. Doesn't really taste like much. I'll catch half a buzz, but I won't get fat in the process. So when you're interchangeable, you may get canceled. So you cannot cancel Dave Chappelle and you cannot cancel Louis C.K., but you can cancel the host from The Bachelor, Chris Harris. You 100%. Can cancel him. They try to boycott Chick-fil-A every year, but people want Chick-fil-A so fucking badly that they can't. You could cancel Jack in the Box. We don't need Jack in the Box.
Yep.
You can't cancel In-N-Out Burger. You can't cancel Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A's so not worried. They don't even open on Sundays still.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah, you're right. There's certain burger restaurants you could cancel. I don't think you could cancel McDonald's or Burger King. Burger King, maybe. Carl's Jr., you could cancel.
Jack in the Box is definitely on the chopping block. Do not.
Yeah.
In-N-Out, no way.
Right. Can't do it. No. So people argue like, well, the merits of canceling or what's canceling. Make yourself cancel-proof. Be In-N-Out Burger or be Dave Chappelle. Be something that can't be canceled, but you don't want to be the host from The Bachelor. So we'll shit can your ass and you will never hear from you again. That's how it works. And Bud Light is very cancelable because no one gives a shit. I'm trying to think what beverages now are not really cancelable.
So are you saying if you get canceled, not you, but like if somebody gets canceled, they should just look in the mirror and go, where did I go wrong?
You did not distinguish yourself sufficiently, and you did not, an NBA team, if you're scoring 35 points a night and getting 12 rebounds, you can get caught up in domestic battery and whatever, send some shitty drunken tweets out, and they'll kind of slap you on the hand. Look, but if you're kind of seventh man on the bench, you're cut.
Right.
You're cut immediately. So why weren't you the star of that team? Because they don't cut the star. They don't say it that way, because that wouldn't be fair. But that's the way they act.
I can't think of any drinks that are cancelable.
Yeah, there's too many.
Because they're all much of a muchness. There's no brands that really stick. Like Doritos, you could never cancel Doritos.
Can't cancel Doritos.
You can't have a Super Bowl without. There's nothing that compares to it.
Yes, you can't cancel
without those sticky orange fingers.
Yeah, but there's 5 vodka lines that could go away, and we'd be left with 100 others, and we'd catch our buzz. All right,
like the White Claw was big. Doesn't even, it's barely on the radar.
Cancel it now. All right, here's someone you can't cancel. Cancel. Or counsel.
He will counsel.
Yeah. The great Mark Geragos. Mark?
Adam, I may use that on my card. You can't cancel or counsel. I love
it. So give us a Menendez update, please.
So, as many people have heard, there's a new docu-series or docudrama put out by Peacock, and in it they document the band Menudo and the fact that Jose Menendez, who I think was then the president or CEO of RCA Records, is accused of having molested one of the members of the band. And that is mind-boggling and revelatory enough. But then you combine that also with the fact that one of the letters that was written by one of the convicted brothers had made its way to a cousin of his who passed away. That cousin saved the letter, and when he died unexpectedly and tragically, it was in a box of artifacts, was found by the person who kept it, turned over to the appellate lawyer, Cliff Gardner, and between those two items, we put together what's called a writ of habeas corpus, which we filed yesterday in LA Superior Court, saying that that they should get a new trial, or in the alternative, should be released.
So was that evidence that was sort of buried or withheld?
Yeah, the evidence was, in the case of the letter, was not revealed. I will tell you that for those who don't remember or aren't in the weeds, the Menendez men were tried one time first. The jury was not overwhelmingly, but at least more than half had voted that they were not guilty of the murder, that they were basically hung between the murder and the manslaughter, and that the abuse that had happened at the hands of Jose Menendez was the reason for what happened that fateful and horrific day. After that mistrial and that hung jury, before they were tried again, there was another large Los Angeles trial, People versus O.J. Simpson. O.J. was acquitted. Some 8 days or a week later, the Menendez brothers were tried a second time, and lo and behold, all of the rulings allowing in the evidence of their abuse were excluded from evidence, number one. And number two, the then prosecutor, brand new prosecutor on the case, a guy that I knew well, who's no longer living also, he had made the argument that they were just whining, there had been no abuse, and it was just an excuse, and that they were overprivileged, pampered kids. Well, we now know that besides that being a rather hypocritical argument, we now know that that was just patently untrue. And so now we're asking that the district attorney's office or His Honor, who we filed the writ with, do the just thing and give them either a new trial or set them free.
How different is the climate now for these kinds of cases? You know, we always see it shift, look no further than Me Too. I don't know how much you could have got on Weinstein in 1994. People would have been like, well, she shouldn't have went up to his room and worn a skirt if she knew what was going on. It was a different climate. And I think cases like this are being talked about more. We're noticing them more. People are having different feelings about molestation. And it used to be like, okay, well, who wants to talk about that? Let's focus on the murder here. And especially as it pertained to men and boys. If this had gone down today, the entire thing was reset today, do you think it would have been a different outcome in terms of America's awareness of these kinds of crimes?
I think absolutely. In fact, I will tell you, if this case is tried today, I don't know that the jury would ever be deciding between murder and manslaughter. I think a jury would be deciding between murder and acquittal. You'll remember on Reasonable Doubt, you and I have years talked about the fact, or another case I had almost 10 years ago, where Will, who was my client, had been molested by a Catholic priest, and when he was a kid with his brother, and that he tracked down the priest years later at one of these pedophile priest retirement homes, and was accused and arrested for beating the shit out of the priest. He was acquitted. He was found not guilty of that. And I would say that in today's milieu, most jurors would understand what happened and would empathize, rightfully so, with what happened. And so you might have a situation where it wouldn't have even been what they were dealing with back in the 90s. But remember, it didn't start with me. If you go on and watch the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals arguments, you'll see one of the judges on the Court of Appeal on their appeals in their writ in federal court talking about the change of the rulings and basically why these guys were convicted. They were obviously convicted because the DA at the time was coming off of a brutal loss. Mr. Gil Garcetti, father of our illustrious mayor, erstwhile mayor, and your favorite mayor of all time.
I'm going to miss him.
And Garcetti put a new prosecutorial team on there, and miraculously, the judge's rulings all reversed the abuse allegations, and the jury didn't get to hear about it.
So
the second trial.
They were arrested in 1990, but have been incarcerated since when?
Since then. They've been in for 33 years.
33 years.
And mind you, 33 years. A friend of mine who's very wise, posed this hypothetical to me. You know what the hypothetical was?
What?
He said, imagine if they were accused of shooting and killing their gym coach or their wrestling coach because he molested them.
Yeah, how much time would they get? That sounds so familiar. I may have written that last
I
night.
wonder who might have wrote me that.
Well, so you think now? Two questions, an easy one and then a harder one. Do you think you're going to get them off with time served? I mean, they've done 33 years. The average time you spend in America for murder is probably 17 years, 4 months or something. They've done 33. Do you think you can get them off with time served?
Yeah, if there's any justice left in this case, and mind you, they've been up and down the court ladder, so to speak, numerous times. If there's any justice, that's the worst result, that they should get time served. If there's really any justice, they would just set aside the conviction and release them, and that, in effect, would be time served.
But the only, to me, snafu is like the dad molestation, the dad was a bad guy. But you also have the mom.
Right.
And that's...
No, I've heard that, but understand what happened here. Understand from a legal standpoint, when they were allowed to raise all of the defenses in the first trial, they had one of the superstars in the criminal defense community defending them, then Leslie Abramson, who I think is now retired. I haven't seen her in years. But Leslie was able to present the evidence and get jury instructions. So the jury heard all of that. The jury still, I believe one was 6-6, the other was 9-3 for acquittal. And they on both. And so when the jury heard it, and when you get the jury instructions, you realize that it negates, I hate to get all legal nerd, but it negates malice. There was no malice. These were traumatized, threatened youths who did the only thing they knew how to do to escape this. I mean, if you read, I don't know if you've got it there, Adam, but we'll probably post it on the Reasonable Doubt website. If you read the letter that was discovered before any of this took place, before any of the trials took place, it's heartbreaking. I mean, this was a young boy writing a letter to his cousin, and he was terrified, and that's traumatizing. And to use I'll give you credit, not just some sage friend of mine. Imagine if it was a gym coach. Would there be anybody who would say sorry? And by the way, there's always the people. We always hear, let's listen to the victims. Well, virtually all of the victims in this case, meaning the relatives of Jose and Kitty, are supportive. So that ought to speak volumes to you.
So, a practical question, because it was asked of me. Mark Geragos takes these kinds of cases because, and I know you're going to say you're a champion of the underdog and a hero to the judicial system, but how does Mark get paid in these kinds of situations?
I've been doing this next month, actually less than 30 days from today, 29 days from today. I've done this for 40 years. That's when I got sworn in, 40 years next June 3rd. And I have always, one of the reasons that I still continue to do the criminal work, because anybody who wants to talk about money, civil is a lot easier. You're just pushing around other people's money. But the reason I still do criminal law is precisely because of cases like this. I think in my heart of hearts, this is an injustice. They don't have any money. They've been in custody for 33 years. And if the system is going to work, then there's got to be somebody who can stand up and do it. And by the way, they've had Cliff Gardner, who is I tease him that he's a celebrity appellate lawyer because he's he's great for TV. If you watch the Peacock series, he's featured throughout. The opportunity to work with Cliff on this was something that I wouldn't pass up. We've had probably 10 collaborations over the years, and we're undefeated. So I figure, why not add this to it?
So Menendez case, what is your prediction?
I'm hopeful that this is compelling enough that the judge, the step one is for him to issue what's called an OSC, order to show cause, which then tells the district attorney to answer our petition, and then presumably a hearing. I mean, there is a world, you wonder, our current DA is George Gascon, and George has a reputation and a history for wanting to do justice, and so doing justice here, I think most people would agree, is they've done their 33 years. It's time. Let them out.
Update on Scott Peterson?
Scott Peterson also just filed a writ of habeas corpus in the Court of Appeal within the last week. They now have 2 declarations from 2 witnesses who heard a guy, I don't know if you want to say brag, but admit, or a declaration against penal interest, I think his name was Dan Maple, that Lacey confronted the burglars that were across the street during they were burglarizing the house across the street, confronted them, and that they're the ones who ended up murdering her. It's really kind of groundbreaking change of circumstances, and so we'll see what happens there as well.
Well, I hope you check in, Mark, and keep us posted, because I've always been interested in this case and Peterson as well.
Well, let me tell you something for those who are listening. Another reason, compelling reason that I was interested in this case, for anybody who cares, is for 10 years you and I did the podcast together. We've been friends for longer, but you've made the argument many times, convincingly and persuasively to me, that if you were sitting on the couch with your wife and Sonny and Natalia decided, you always blame Natalia for being the one who would do it, but they decided to blow your head off while you were eating ice cream on the couch, that it would be your opinion that you probably had done something tragically and horribly wrong that would have provoked that, and you wouldn't be scared that they'd go do it again. Did I capture that? Right?
You captured it perfectly, Mark.
That's pretty.
Mark Geragos, Reasonable Doubt and Beyond Reasonable Doubt, new episodes every week, and shoot him a tweet at Mark Geragos as well. Hey, I'll see you soon, Mark. Thank you.
Yes, very soon. Thanks, Adam. Bye, guys.
Take care.
Bye, Mark.
Well, there's Mark jumping in to the Menendez case.
Where do you think the guy from Menudo, Roy, he stands in this? Do you think he is trying to get the Menendez brothers out, or he just wanted to get his story known? Like, is he gonna take the stand? Is he gonna vouch for these guys and get them out too?
I don't.
Are they gonna use them?
I mean, Mark will use everything he can use, and I'm glad to hear that he's walking the walk. You know, he's interested in criminal stuff. I mean, Mark gets a ton of shit because he represents Colin Kaepernick, but he does do tons of cases you guys have never even heard of with poor people or getting wrongfully accused or whatever, mostly Armenian, who because he loves Armos.
He's a champion, yeah.
And he does it. But I believe it keeps his sword sharp.
Right.
You know what I mean? He knows how to get into that sort of octagon and duke it out. He's not one of these Gloria Allred types that just sends demand letters and then gets paid and then sends in a demand letter and gets paid, never really goes inside of a courtroom.
I just think what's so fascinating about it is the law has changed so little over 30, 40, 50, 60 years. Yet the court of public opinion, right, the way that people view this is Mental Health Awareness Month this month. And we're all, now it just sounds like if this went to trial, it would be the completely opposite that it was 30 years ago. Even the pre and post OJ made that difference. It's crazy.
Imagine if you could select a jury from a specific time period.
Oh, my God.
Right,
yeah.
exactly. I mean, it's crazy. Yet the law changes barely ever.
Right. No, it's all the attitude and sort of which way the wind is blowing. Yeah. And then in other cases, it's like if you're a cop and you put your knee on the neck of a black guy and people are like, I don't want my city to burn down, you're guilty. Right. Like so much of it has to do with prevailing winds of society outside of the courtroom.
And even the changing gender roles, like you mentioned the mum, like I'm not sure what the mum's like responsibility or what her kind of role was in the whole of this situation. But you think about if it had been happening in if this whole case had happened 30 years prior to the 90s, I would have put less blame on the mum because the dad was so much so the patriarch back in the 50s and 60s, right? But by the 90s, I feel like we were definitely getting into the phase where mums and dads ruled the family somewhat equally.
And just the difference between molesting your daughter in 1990 and molesting your son. The daughter, we were pretty sympathetic about. The son was like, he should have punched him or done something with a kind of a dusting of, oh, that's gross. I don't want to even go there. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even want to hear about that shit. So, yeah, it does matter what's in vogue, not just the actual laws and statutes.
So what are your predictions?
I think, Mark's right. They just completely screwed the pooch on OJ, and now they got to get a win for their team. And whoever was in power then they're all long gone. You know, Gil Garcetti gave birth to demon spawn Eric Garcetti in the hopes that he could destroy this city. He did a pretty decent job of destroying Los Angeles. And now he's off to destroy Calcutta. Godspeed, Eric Garcetti. Wow. Jesus Christ. I hope the fucking floor gives out of his outhouse and he ends up in a big pile of shit. But anyway, it's like people die off and they're gone and nobody here is going to get blamed for and then they don't really care, and the public kind of loses its momentum with it, and they just kind of go, who cares? You know what I mean?
Next season, The Bachelor comes out, and that's all people are talking about.
That's right. Hosted by Who Cares? All right, take a quick break. Come back. We got Dawson. How you doing on your winning series?
I think we're in. I think we're ready for you.
Okay, we got a nice surprise for you, and we'll do that right after this. For Patriot survival food. Experts say China is hoarding massive amounts of food, and they'll soon have over 2/3 of the world's corn reserves and over half its rice and wheat reserves as well. China's the world's #1 food importer, and they rely on that to feed their people. What does this mean for us Americans? Food shortages. Stock up on a kit of best-selling For Patriot survival food. Create your own stockpile of best-selling For Patriot survival food kits, hand-packed in the U.S., compact, stack easily, and taste good. It's not like the old days. Different delicious breakfasts, lunches, and dinners. 5-star reviews on websites rave about the flavor and the taste. Look, if you're responsible and you have a family, things are a little bit nutty out there. You need to do this. Just like you have life insurance, health insurance, and some water put away. For Patriot survival food. Do the responsible thing. Am I right, Dawson?
Right now, you can get 10% off your first purchase of 4 Patriots Survival Food by typing in the code ADAM at checkout. Just go to 4patriots.com and use code ADAM to get 10% off your first purchase of 4 Patriots Survival Food. That's 4patriots.com. Use code ADAM.
The Jordan Harbinger Show, a different kind of sponsor for this episode, the Jordan Harbinger Show. Well, if you're a fan of fascinating podcasts and interesting people, you should definitely check this one out. There's an episode for everyone, no matter what you're into. Jordan talks with Scott Adams about persuasion in a world where facts don't matter anymore. Man, is he right. Or you go inside the dark world of wildlife trafficking. You'll always find something useful to apply to your own life, like routine changes to boost productivity or slight mindset tweaks that change how you see the world. Jordan's a good guy. We've had him on many times. I know the man well, and he's worth a listen. We enjoy the show, and we know you will too. So you can search The Jordan Harbinger Show. That is HARB as in boy, IN as in Nancy, GER on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
In celebration of Jim Carolla's upcoming 92nd birthday, here's a list of 92 things Jim Carolla has never done. Number 57. Pulled the handle of a slot machine. Just one of 92 things Jim Carolla has never done. Let's get back to the Adam Carolla Show.
Comedian Kimbles is hanging with us. If you want to see her do stand-up, she'll be with us at Solana Beach at the Belly Up Tavern. That'll be June 4th. I think Brad Williams is going to be there as well. And she's a really funny stand-up comedian who's all over the place. So just go to Kimbles Hume, HHUME.com for all the info. All right. So, Kimbles, you probably aren't aware of it, but I discovered a hidden gem on the FM dial.
Right.
Which is called out here. I think it's 92.3.
I only listen online. I don't even know.
They don't throw the call
is.
signs up
No.
there. Huh? Yeah, it's BIN. It's the Black Information Network.
I heard you talking about it with Michael yesterday.
I am in love with it. But I also thought, why should they be the only folks represented with the radio station? Turnabout seems to be fair played. Well, I'll play you guys. Yeah, 92.3. I'll play you just something that Chris just pulled it off his computer an hour ago.
Black journalism at work.
Because truth matters. This is BIN on iHeartRadio.
Your money on the Black Information Network.
A study by Deloitte Research looking into key factors that contribute to racial and generational gaps in acquiring wealth finds many Black millennials transitioned into adulthood during periods of economic instability.
The Black Information Network.
Stretching from West 82nd to West 89th Street, Seneca Village was an African-American enclave that flourished. Home to 225 residents in 1855 with a population roughly two-thirds African-American. To justify its destruction, a racist smear campaign targeted the community, portraying it as a poor area with disheveled shanty-like housing. However, historical records and excavated artifacts have uncovered the rich history that was once Seneca Village. And that's a fact. I'm Ashley Young on the Black Information Network.
All right. So they fill you in on all black. But
Real quick.
I thought we might want to work on a white information network.
Can we have sweet dub music on the background, just like they did? Or do we have to have like country music on in the background?
To be fair to Dawson, I thought of this about 26 minutes before the show started. So I just yelled at him, do whatever you can in 26 minutes. So we'll continue to evolve it, but this is what we're
I thought the black radio station had chosen that music.
Oh, that music?
Yeah.
They did.
Oh, they
That's
did. There
all
we go.
them.
Yeah, that was some sweet tunes.
That's
going on
all
in the back
them.
there.
That's just ripped right from the airwaves.
Exactly how you hear it, yeah.
All right, you ready, Dawson?
WIN, the White Information Network. Whole Foods closes in San Francisco, so where are you going to get your kombucha? That story. Plus, Ryan Seacrest and Reese Witherspoon caught sharing pumpkin spice lattes after a hot yoga class. White news. White now on WIN, the White Information Network. White singer Ed Sheeran triumphs in his court case over black songwriter Marvin Gaye. WIN. White news. White Now. The White Information Network puts a bright white spotlight on Henry Ford, a white man. He was an American industrialist and the founder of the Ford Motor Company, as well as the chief developer of the assembly line, Henry Ford. White man. Today's feature on the White Information Network. All day, all night, all white. The White Information Network. Russia or Ukraine? When both of the enemies are white, who do you choose? WIN, the White Information Network.
Oh, nice job,
So
Dawson.
good. Yeah.
Very nice.
Very nice.
I've
Now,
learned so much.
here's the rule of thumb. If things sound ridiculous on the other side, then maybe what you're doing is ridiculous too. That's what I have to say about all things, many things in life, is if somebody did a fill-in-the-blank version of what you were doing, then, if I started a health club and I went males only, and you went, what the fuck? Well, then maybe you should think about the females only one or the black only. I'm starting a dorm. Whites only.
But every minority group is allowed them only, apart from white people.
Yes.
I mean, that's the classic white privilege that we.
Yeah, although I think if somebody tried to float maybe an Asian only dorm, there might be some pushback.
There are definitely like Asian only comedy nights. And
Yes.
stuff.
Are there?
Yes, definitely.
Yes. In
Yes.
fact, I was having a conversation last weekend with a black lesbian comic, and she said that her last few shows were at either black or lesbian nights. And I looked at her
wonder if
and
there's a black
smiled,
Sorry.
and I said, you can't do a white guy's night, can you? And she goes, you know what? I think you should do that.
But then the question comes: at what point does it stop? There's black nights, there's lesbian nights. Is there the black lesbian night? And at what point can you keep going down that list until it's?
There's an Asian night, huh?
Yeah, when and where? I
plenty.
need to do something.
Yeah,
this
there's
weekend.
plenty.
Yeah.
I'd
I'd say monthly at any number of comedy clubs.
And do they have a cute name for it? Because, the black night's always like chocolate night or hot chocolate night or something.
Asian fusion. I've seen.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
You
Yeah, there's a couple. They're brilliant. I mean, I've been to a couple. Never been on one. Just sitting in the back.
Could you be on one?
No, but you know what pisses me
But
off
we
about
don't
this?
know. Do we know?
Crazy woke Asians. is
Crazy
the name
woke
of one of them.
Asians. Yeah, that's a good one.
Do we know that? Because you, sorry, one of your sons, or my son, or my daughter, can get into a black college. They're not.
Only one of them?
They're a little underrepresented. But it's not like they don't let them in. There are a couple of white folks bopping around Howard and other predominantly black colleges. They don't have a, you may not set foot on this campus. They have a, well, take a couple of honkies in here.
And we often have female comedy shows as well, and they always choose a male host.
Oh, really?
It's just,
well, they want them to be funny, though. I mean, people spend good
so
money.
Insulting.
By the time you pay for the sitter.
Can you imagine if they had an Asian night and had a white host doing it? Oh my God.
Here's the fun thing about the black comedy nights. The black comedy nights have no problem letting white dudes up there.
100%.
They are super,
they don't care.
super cool. They
I've
do not care
killed at
because
some black comedy nights.
either way,
really?
Either way, they laugh at they laugh at your jokes or they laugh at you. Either way, it's a win.
Yeah. So
That's why
black
I've
comedy
killed.
night will let whites up.
Yep.
Absolutely 100%
Asian,
anytime.
maybe.
They want one. They want a token white. 100%.
They want a token
Yeah.
white. Will lesbian let a non-lesbian? And I guess we can't really tell if we're sitting in the audience.
It must be an initiation test or something.
True that. I think
went to-
the host is always never included. So I think you could have an LGBT night with a host that maybe isn't. I feel like people
But a
get around
female,
the rule
probably.
with the host, probably.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
went to a
Or someone they're trying to turn. That's
Right.
I went to a lesbian comedy night one night to support one of my friends, and they sat me right in the front row, and I just got glared at the entire time.
Should I have your pants down?
Yeah. Anyway, I'm old-fashioned. I just like comedy night. And then whoever
Yeah.
shows up,
Yeah.
shows up. But
Well, it's weird. They do a
that's just
mums
me.
comedy night as well, and there's like 6 mums in the lineup, and it drives me bananas because we're all doing similar jokes about it. It's better to have
Yes.
a little bit of a varied. I don't want to go up after some other. I've got a friend who's a triplet mum.
Mm-hmm.
Drives me bananas. All her jokes are like 1/3 better than my jokes. You
Right.
know?
No, I completely agree. It also sort of suggests, and I've never really thought about this, but it kind of suggests that, well, this isn't the best we could do on a Thursday night.
Mm-hmm.
It's the best we could do with people that had either kids or multiples or something. It's sort of the whole thing about all of this stuff for me is that it's like, this isn't the best vice president
Mm-hmm.
we could elect or anoint. It's the best black one
Yeah.
or the best female one or the best, and I don't like
Right.
that world. I just want to go, this is the best comedy night, this is the best airline pilot, this is the best vice president.
Yeah.
Like that.
It lowers the bar.
Well, even if the 6 mums on Mum Night are killer, it still plants a little kernel in my head of, well, what if they just opened it up to all comedians? Maybe it would be even
Yeah,
funnier.
it's like a marketing gimmick, but that backfires, I think, half the time.
But
They
I
think
think-
they'll get more mums out that night.
I think you're right in that I would never want to go at the end of the Mum Night set because I've heard your act. It's very funny. But if you're a woman and you have twins and you're married, you're going to do a lot
Yeah.
of that kind of
Yeah.
material. And it's going to be in the same realm
Yeah.
as many of the other comedians as well,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
All right. Let's see. What else?
One
did I
more
write
quick
down?
thing.
Go ahead.
One thing I noticed in the collective nights, their crowd will show up, and whether it's funny or not, they will do the fake laughter and get really, really loud and really, really supported because they have to.
Well, yeah, it's
And
the
it
community.
just throws off, like someone, I'll laugh at anything. If a
Yes.
joke's a joke, if it's funny, I am laughing. But then when you get the hardcore laugh, it's like, oh, you're killing it.
Yeah, 100% true.
Oh, it's interesting. Thank God I don't support any of those nights.
Yeah, good for you.
Yeah,
It's
good
like
for
that
me.
fake support, like,
You
we
made
must
it.
support you because you're one of us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of that, or sort of on that subject, I was entertained when I was looking at a tweet this morning that Dee Snider from Twisted Sister was slated to play the LGBTQ plus fair march or whatever in San Francisco, and they canned him, even though he really is. I mean, you want to talk about a drag queen pioneer. It's Twisted Sisters, Dee Snider, who's an all-around good dude. I've hung out with him. I think I did Celebrity Apprentice with him. He's a sincere
But not LGBTQ.
dude. No.
No.
He's very dude-esque, but for some reason,
Always does the horns and pictures.
yeah, it ended up going sort of trans something in early iterations of Twisted Sister. But always a supporter of the community, and I guess that's why he was chosen to play at the big gay parade in San Francisco that's coming up. But then he got canned because he supported another rock star's tweet, or at least liked it or retweeted it, or I don't even know where
Quoted
we're
it,
at
yeah.
anymore, but they shit canned him. But it was it Stan? Who?
Paul Stanley.
Paul Stanley from Kiss. Yeah. I don't know if we have that thing. But look, the only reason I'm bringing it up is I love when super wokesters eat their own. I love it when they go after their own. And the other part I like about it is when you read the headlines from Rolling Stone and they say, after supporting Paul Stanley's, anti-LGBT whatever attack, tweet or whatever it is, when it never is. It's always something much more innocuous. And it usually lives somewhere in common sense and stuff like that. But Paul Stanley's given us thoughts. And you want to read that? You got it, Dawson? Or you want me to?
Yeah, I got his apology first. Hold on, let me find it. It's coming.
Oh, he apologized?
I see 2 hours ago, Paul Stanley did an apology, but let me find his first one first.
All right.
Okay, here we go. My thoughts on what I'm seeing. There is a big difference between teaching acceptance and normalizing and even encouraging participation in a lifestyle that confuses young children into questioning their sexual identification as though some sort of game, and then parents in some cases allow it.
Hold up. All right, so the first thought is you should accept people for who they say they are, but there's a difference between accepting something and sort of foisting it on a young generation, sort of pushing it along versus accepting it. And this is kind of the problem with most of the movements today. You hanging around and accepting their shit is no longer good enough. You must cheer it on. The mission statement at the beginning was, we just want to do our own thing without judgment and be part of society and not have you look down your nose. And we went, fine.
Fucking knock everybody out.
Knock yourselves out. We don't give a fuck. And they went, you don't give a fuck. Oh, now we got a problem. Now, no, we must cheer it on.
Now they demand attention.
They demand it, yes, which suggests they didn't really, their initial mission statement was full of shit. They didn't mean it. But anyway.
There are individuals who, as adults, may decide reassignment is their needed choice. But turning this into a game or parents normalizing it as some sort of natural alternative, or believing that because a little boy likes to play dress up in his sister's clothes or a girl in her brother's, we should lead them steps further down a path that's far from the innocence of what they are doing. With many children who have no real sense of sexuality or sexual experiences, caught up in the fun of using pronouns and saying what they identify as, some adults mistakenly confuse teaching acceptance with normalizing and encouraging a situation that has been a struggle for those truly affected and have turned it into a sad and dangerous fad.
All right, all true. But, okay, he did. See, the other thing, too, is you can't offer support. Like you can't go, oh, sorry, I support this and I support that, but I wouldn't want this to indoctrinate kids who shouldn't be indoctrinated into this thing. But it doesn't matter. You say 3 words, you're gone. And then Dee Snider doesn't have to do anything. He just has to agree with it. He doesn't have to write his own post, right? He just kind of give it a thumbs up.
Yeah.
Right, because he's normal.
What did he do, Chris? Did he quote tweet it?
I have it. So Dee quote tweeted this and said, you know what? There was a time where I, quote, felt pretty too. Glad my parents didn't jump to any rash conclusions. Well said, Paul Stanley.
Well, that's enough to get him off the gay float at the gay parade.
They're not going to take it.
So 2 hours ago, Paul Stanley says, while my thoughts were clear, my words clearly were not. Most importantly, and above all, was there anything unclear about that? Anybody? It seemed pretty clear.
He isn't a great writer. I will say that. But they knew what the fuck he was saying. Yes, it was.
Lick it up.
Lick it up. Yeah.
Most importantly, and above all else, I support those struggling with their sexual identity while enduring constant hostility, and those whose path leads them to reassignment surgery. It's hard to fathom the kind of conviction that one must feel to take those steps. A paragraph or two will remain far too short to fully convey my thoughts or point of view, so I will leave that for another place and time. Lick it up.
Take it back. Take it back. Yeah.
I said
apologize. Yeah, I said I'm sorry. Sorry, gays. Sorry, gays. Yeah.
I've got to apologize.
I missed the Twisted Sister memo here, but I love that you guys know all the words.
That's Kiss.
Yeah.
That's Kiss. There you go.
I'll give you a break. You're young and you're from a foreign land. But I don't know why he's weighing in on this stuff, but who cares? But
stick to being a rock star, right?
Yes.
He had a great gig.
I know. Nobody's like, oh, what does Paul Stanley have to say?
God.
No, but never apologize to these idiots.
Yeah,
but
more
anyway,
hurt than good for him.
So now,
Kiss will be fine. They have an army.
Now, Kiss has an army. That's right. Mm-hmm. And now, who's the gay parade gonna get? So, gonna get like a Savage Garden cover band, or who's gonna step in there? Someone's gonna have to step in. All right.
It ain't going to be Morrissey.
No. Oh, what's wrong with Morrissey? He doesn't like him?
He's a little too normal these days.
Is he?
Yeah, right, Chris? There's been some news about Morrissey
I
making
didn't
some
know.
very sane observations.
I didn't know that either.
I didn't know
I always thought
Morrissey
Morrissey was crazy.
Oh, okay. Well, good news for Morrissey fans.
I'll dig into it.
Yeah, look up and see what Morrissey's saying. Anyway, good. Have fun canceling each other. Good luck to you.
Loxy is available, though.
Yes. Yeah, I'll do 20 minutes of mom humor.
We can be bot for
and open for you. All right, we got some news. I think what we should do is take a break, and then we'll come back and we'll do some news right after this. Hey, it's Adam Carolla. Is your vehicle no longer stopping like it used to? Or does it squeal, shake, or grind when you brake? Don't miss spring brake deals at O'Reilly Auto Parts now through April 25th. You can get 15% off when you buy a set of Brake Best Select or Import Direct brake pads and 2 rotors. Brake Best Select and Import Direct brake pads are engineered for all driving conditions to restore and improve braking performance. With application-specific friction formulas, noise-canceling shims, and low-dust operation. Trust Brake Best and Import Direct to deliver better braking. Don't take a chance on your next brake repair. The professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts will help you find the brake parts and supplies you need to do the job right the first time. Stop by your local O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit online, O'ReillyAuto.com.
It's time to check Adam's voicemail.
Hey, Adam. Back in the 1930s, there were shanty towns called Hoovervilles, and it was sort of a shade to Herbert Hoover. I think you guys need to, or you need to start giving a little love to Gavin Newsom and start calling your shanty town New Slums. Sort of throw it in there. I'd take our cities too, but I think he's gone now. Give a little responsibility to Gavin. All right, have a good one. Bye.
You can leave us a message at 888-634-1744.
Gavin New Slums. I like that. The new slums. Yeah, the new shanty towns of 2023.
They're here.
Do we got Randi Weingarten anywhere in our news?
Yeah.
I wanted to yell about her.
You want to jump in? You want to jump into that?
Well, it reminded me of something I was yelling about with Dr. Drew earlier today, but
well, I mean, I did have this in the hopper, but yeah, let's get going with this. So she's under fire because she spoke to Congress a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah,
and this is what she had to say.
Oh, by the way, can I just say this? Can I say this about everybody? There's the fucking full of their own shit look they have. Like there's this bitch when she's up at the podium in front of the teachers' unions and the Democratic politicians going, "We're not going anywhere until they give us more plexiglass," and everyone goes nuts. I like the frumpy, fucked up, defeated version of her.
Yeah.
You see her? This is the deflated, I fucking screwed the pooch. Now I'm going to my ass handed to me by many people that are smarter than me. Oh, all of a sudden her face has changed. Her hair's falling down. Her face is falling down. This is fucking Ron Jeremy's mugshot.
It's like the panda in Tennessee.
That's right.
Yeah.
We were talking about caricatures earlier. I could see her caricature now. Her face would be lower than her tits
she's
are.
normally she's normally all fucking shits and grins and shaking her fist and yelling about Trump and everything else because she has all her fucking lackey flocky legions around her nodding their head. Now she gets pulled up in front of Congress. She's like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, defeated. So this is her talking about the impact of COVID-19 school closures.
I'm sorry, Congressman Raskin. We spent every day from February on trying to get schools open. We knew that remote education was not a substitute for opening schools, but we also knew that people had to be safe. And maybe it's because I live in New York City. I live near a hospital.
Oh, my God.
Every other minute there was an ambulance. There was terror. Our members
Hold on a second. There's Tara. What if you lived next to a Farrell's ice cream shop and all you saw was happy people going in and eating ice cream every day? Would you change your policy? Like, maybe you shouldn't base it on where you live. Like, if you live in proximity to an AIDS hospice, then you would just set all your policy and make it all AIDS-based. Or if you lived in proximity to a driving range, it would be golf-related stuff. Like
next to a Panda Express, you see people that can't eat their chicken.
Yes, maybe your proximity to a hospital shouldn't affect your policy, you crazy witch.
That makes sense.
I just wanted to open the schools. Bull fucking shit. By the way, I thought closing schools was a good idea. Why don't you stand by it, you crazy witch? Stand by it. It was good. It was a good thing. Remember, it was a good thing? It was important. Just stick with it. Stick with it. Stick with what you told us was important.
It was important then.
Oh, it's not important now?
No.
I mean, we talk about the effect it had on the kids, but what about the effect it had on us? Talk about mental
That's
health.
right.
I was stuck at home with two 6-year-olds, one with a learning disability for a year. Insanely hard. Just
oh, my God.
Mentally definitely drove you to alcohol at 11 o'clock in the morning. It was just rough as balls.
Is that the end of this clip, or is she going to whimper some more? Bitch. Yeah.
I don't know.
All right. Wow.
I live near a hospital. Every other minute there was an ambulance. There was terror. Our members were terrified. Others were terrified. And what we were simply looking for was clear scientific guidance. And when we couldn't get it, we did it ourselves, and we worked with doctors, and we worked with others, and we just tried to get it out there.
Okay, now you blackballed every doctor who said, don't shut down the schools, you crazy coos. Don't give me this fucking shit.
I know.
Oh, God. Terror. She says terror like Woody Allen, by the way. True New Yorker. She doesn't say terror. She says terror. Now, good. I do like, again, I like deflated version of her, which is good. But I was saying to Dr. Drew, what happened that, people during COVID, they started snitching on everybody and telling everyone to pull their mask off, pull mask up, and this guy's not doing this, and you're endangering me and endangering Nana, and blah, blah, blah. I said to Drew earlier today, when did we all turn into hall monitors in the high school of life? And wasn't the hall monitor the most despicable kid in your school that you looked down upon? You wanted to be the cool kid smoking under the bleachers, not the guy with the fucking sash yelling at people not to run in the hall, right?
The narcs.
When did the narcs when did this become some prestigious position to be a narc and a hall monitor? Now, why do we listen to you idiots?
Now I think people fight for that right. Now I think people fight for the right to be the person that can tell them whatever else is doing wrong.
Come out to the bleachers with the cool kids and smoke a cigarette.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Well, actually, so this Randi clip, it obviously went viral, and a lot of people confronting her. Even Lori Lightfoot, she rejected that Randi's claim about unions working to reopen schools, said it was not the reality in Chicago.
No, they unionized. They weaponized their unions to close it. But listen, Lori Lightfoot was arresting people walking along the lake.
I know.
So fuck her.
Maybe a way of deflecting any attention there.
It makes me, makes me harken back to a couple of tweets, I should say, exchange I had with the L.A. union teachers unions.
Right, they heard what you're saying about them.
Yeah.
Well, so you tweeted, LA teachers either don't want to go back to work or are cowards. Those are the only two options left.
That was
February 2021.
Right.
Yeah.
But then they clapped back at me.
Oh, they made it graphic.
Yeah, they made it graphic. Because this is what you do when you have all the time in the world on your hands. You make graphics. The LA teachers of Los Angeles got back to me.
They said, teachers are working, Adam Carolla, but congrats on being spared the devastation our communities face. The communities we serve have COVID-19 levels 15 times greater than those in your wealthy La Cañada neighborhood. And then
they doxed me.
And the hashtag entitlement alert, and the graphic says, Adam Carolla calls Los Angeles teachers cowards from his new $7.3 million mansion in La Cañada.
That's right.
The teachers were working. You know who wasn't fucking working? The parents that were stuck at home with these kids
who couldn't go
that
to
have
work.
had full-time jobs that they had to do.
Yes.
And then they continued.
They kept going.
Same graphic.
But here's what I want to say to the United Teachers of Los Angeles. What do you got to say now, bitch? What do you have to say? Hit me back. Hit me back, bitches. You're all fucking high and mighty. This is 2 years ago. Where are you now? Come on, bring it. Come on in. We'll have a debate. The door's open, you fucking pussy, spineless, feckless cowards. Come on in. Hey, United Teachers Unions, you're fast to clap back, right? Can you hear me? Come on in. Come on in.
Open invitation,
Bring
Teachers
it on
Union.
down, Teachers Union, United Teachers Union of Los Angeles. Come on in. Let's debate school closures. Let's do it. Come on down. I won't even have a piece of paper in front of me. Come on down. But you won't do it because you're fucking cowards.
Well, actually, Adam, speaking of cowards, they tweeted again. Who's the coward? The teachers who dare confront government officials and powerful business to fight for the health of their students and families?
What government officials were they confronting? Garcetti? The mayor? The governor? They were backing your shutdown because you put them in office with your unions because you give them money for their campaigns.
Right.
Okay.
I also love the picture that they chose of you. They didn't choose one of your like pensive, thoughtful pictures. They chose the one with the smuggest look on the face as well.
I agree.
Yeah, so who's the coward, them or you, who sits safely in your La Cañada mansion? They are really focusing, honing in on that.
Safely.
Criticizing what apparently you don't even understand. Teachers are working.
She just said that the school remote learning was much less effective, and they knew it. So what does that mean?
So you're entitled, and they said you're just tweeting from your La Cañada mansion, millions of dollars, and
I wrote back, that's untrue. I called them cowards for my mansion in Malibu.
Brutal.
I was in Malibu at the time. I was just like, for the record.
Let's get the facts straight.
For the record, yes. I sit home and I count money in my mansion, except for I was out on the road every other day in any other city that wasn't as fucking kooky as Los Angeles that would let me do stand-up and
San Diego is one of those for
in
sure.
their city.
Yeah.
Were they as kooky or less
no,
kooky?
San Diego is
normal.
completely different. We carried on. I mean, we were doing shows socially distanced. Wasn't even socially distanced within 3-4 months.
Yes. All right. Anyway, let's come back and let's revisit and let's figure out who was right and who was wrong. Or is it just universally accepted that closing down schools was a fucking horrible idea that hurt kids badly? And then there's no reason to have this debate? So in that case, I'll just take an apology.
Right. I mean, the dust is settling in favor of that, though, right?
They're fucking liars. They're idiots.
It's going to be 10 years till we truly see the effect it has on the kids, though, when they start going off to colleges and seeing the disparity.
Or not going off to college.
Or not going off to college,
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's already a bunch of depression and super low math scores and all the other effects and weight gain and, whatever. All the other shit you guys foisted upon these kids because you're fucking cowards. But it's mainly you're in a union, you don't want to work, there's no school choice, and you have the government behind you because your unions give them money for their campaigns and vote them in. All right, that's a great system.
Yeah. In fact,
thank you.
Widespread loneliness in the U.S. poses health risks as deadly as smoking up to 15 cigarettes daily. Dawson's.
Yes, because I'm good. I'm not lonely.
That's
I'm
right.
alone, but I'm not lonely, and I smoke.
Right.
So I'm healthier than you fuckers.
That's right.
Yeah, U.S. Surgeon General said Tuesday, he's, quote, "We now know that loneliness is a common feeling that many people experience. It's like hunger or thirst. It's a feeling the body sends us when something we need for survival is missing. Millions of people in America are struggling in the shadows, and that's not right. That's why I issued this advisory to pull back the curtain on a struggle that too many people are experiencing. I mean, definitely worsened since the COVID
Yeah, we told everyone to go in and lock down, which is the shelter in place. Mayor Garcetti said shelter in place 250 times. It's the worst thing you could have done for yourself during COVID. Sunshine, outdoors, exercise, socializing. That would have been the best thing you could have done.
Saying it's like hunger or thirst is pushing it a little farther. Like if you're lonely for 4 days, you'll die of dehydration. Like that's a push.
I don't know.
Well, they said loneliness increases the risk of premature death by nearly 30%.
Well, there is a lot going on. First thing, okay. The reason I'm dismissive when most people tell me they have a headache or backache, especially anyone under 40, I'm like, it's not that. Something's going on in your head. Like, you need to fucking go for a run. You need to listen to classical music. You need to break a sweat. You need to build a barn. You need to have a laugh, hoist a beer. Like, there's something going. It's so much of your head now just affects everything. Now, it's taken us a little while to figure out your gut actually affects things and your head affects things. Your gut affects your head, and then your head ruins everything. But we are much more, we were not cut out for this. And what is this? This is sitting around in air conditioning and looking at information that upsets us. We were not made for it. We were meant to be on our feet, moving outside, doing something. And all the people I know who do that are completely fine. And the people that are at home getting information, sedentary, are not.
Yeah, so speaking of technology, so technology has rapidly exacerbated this problem, with one study cited in the report finding that people who use social media for 2 hours or more daily were more than twice as likely to report feeling socially isolated than those who are on for less than 30 minutes. And social media is driving the increase in loneliness in particular. Murthy's report suggests that technology companies should roll out these protections for children based on their behavior in social media and just how they're feeling. I mean, I know you're not on social media a ton, but
no, look,
it's
look, here's the whole thing. Government is not going to be able to regulate you into a good life. They're inept at what they do, and they don't care unless you owe them money, in which case they care greatly. You are going to have to be in charge of your own shit. Look, the term junk food was probably coined in 1969. I knew what junk food was when I was 6. I heard junk food. You know what I mean? You can't eat all that junk food, all that sugary cereal and all that candy. You got to eat your vegetables or whatever. This whole thing where it's like, we need an information campaign. It's a retarded government thought. Like, if only people, it's right up there with, we're going to cure racism if we just sit down at the table and have a discussion. No, we will not. Everyone has all the information. You have to, at some point, you have to go out and do it. You can ask any 9-year-old on the planet, what's better for you, broccoli or a bowl of Sugar Smacks? They know what the answer is.
Yeah.
Everything is ubiquitous now. Everything is almost free. You can sit on the internet for 20 hours a day if you choose. You can go to a drive-thru and order junk food at 2 a.m. on a weeknight. Everything is open. Everything is there. You're going to start regulating yourself. It's not the government. They're not going to come up with another food pyramid that's going to cure this, and they're not going to do some sort of campaign, some sort of informational campaign. It's not going to work for junk food. It's not going to work for school shootings. It's not going to work for anything. Everyone's going to have to start fucking self-regulating.
Yeah.
You are going to have to, and you don't need the government or me or anyone telling you what to do. You need to exercise. You need to read a little more and watch a little less this. You need to eat better and do a little less junk. You need to connect or talk to people that you like. It's all that, all of that shit all adds up, and you already know it. You're just going to have to start doing it.
Yeah. So I went through a period of intense loneliness when I moved from the UK to the US. Right? 28 years old. I did not know a soul in this country. I'd never been to America. Like, never been to America, didn't know anyone. My job moved me over to sunny San Diego, which was great. But still, I was moving over, didn't know anyone. And that's a lot to take on. And just for that, I remember that 2 weeks thinking, have I done the right thing here? How do I figure this out? I was single, so that helped a little bit. And I just started pushing myself out. You have to take responsibility for yourself, right? I literally went onto Craigslist, and there was another girl like me who'd written, single female in San Diego looking for friends. And I literally it was basically like a dating, and we went out, and there was about 40 girls there. 2 I clicked with, still friends with to this day.
Yeah.
And I got myself out there, but I think it becomes linked into, it's something bigger, right? You're not just lonely. If you're lonely for a period amount of time, you're depressed or anxious.
Yes.
It's
Especially
linked into something else. You're not just lonely, because if you're just lonely, but you've got the confidence to get out there, then like me, then you'll be fine again, and you could pick yourself up. I think you've got something worse. If you're lonely, you're also at least depressed, anxious, something.
If there's no part of you that's looking to solve this problem or to change it, then that's depression.
Yes.
You're just going to sink
Yes.
even deeper.
And also the mental depression that people give too much power to can be broken. And it can be broken by physical activity. And people, I spend way too much time talking to idiots about this, but they sit and I go, get up, let's go, let's hike, let's move, and they go, I'm not feeling it, and it's like, that's why you're not. But you can look, if I took a lighter and threw it in this trash can right now and just start a fire and threw it on the sofa, could you get up and start walking out of this goddamn house? And if the answer is yes, then guess who can get up and start walking? You can.
Yeah.
Go to the fucking beach, walk on the beach. Go to the mountains, walk the mountains. Start doing it. And you go, I'm depressed. So your legs don't function? Like you've lost control of your bodily functions? Because I don't mean taking a deuce on yourself, but I just mean you're unable to stand up and walk. You'll stand up and walk down to a liquor store and get another 6-pack of beer, then walk past the liquor store and keep going. And it's like people are way too up in their fucking head about everything.
They're unmotivated.
And we've enabled the shit out of them. Like they have depression.
And it's okay, yeah.
It's a clinical thing. They got to talk to a doctor. No, they don't. Just get up and start moving. And you know what the answers are. I know. I get it. You want internet porn, you want junk food, you want booze.
Yes.
Me too. But it's not good for not good for the noggin. So start fucking hiking.
I mean, depression wasn't even a medical diagnosis 30 years ago, right?
No,
so at what point does loneliness become a medical diagnosis in 10 years' time?
Everyone knows the answer, except for the answer sucks, because the answer is diet and exercise for everything in life, and nobody wants that answer.
Well, what do you think the focus on mental health? How important is it really then? Because I mean, these days people take days off for mental health.
Bill,
no.
Listen. I'm telling you, I cured Drew of a panic attack by yelling at him. He's not having a panic attack to get the fuck back to work, and he snapped out of it.
Yeah.
Nobody likes me, except for I'm always right. You have to get up and you have to do something. You cannot indulge yourself. You taking days off for, what do they call them?
Mental health days, right?
Yeah. All that does is make you spiral a little lower down into some form of mental health disability, and it validates you being that.
It's an acceptance.
Yeah. You know what the best answer? The best answer for everybody, which no one will ever do, because everyone's always going, I don't feel good. Whenever somebody goes to me, you're jumping in that cold lake, you're going to get sick. I go, I don't get sick. And they go, you're going to get sick if you go out, it's freezing outside. I go, I don't get sick. I don't get sick. And then I don't get sick. Or I get sick and I show up at work. Or fuck it. People got to get over their fucking shit a little bit. People are way too fucking soft. They're way too easy on themselves. This is the big problem. People are like, I can't do this because I'm not feeling. Fuck the way you feel. Get the fuck up and go to work.
I think Randi Weingarten's looking to close schools because of kids' mental health now.
Oh, God.
But whose fault is it? Is it the person who thinks that they have a mental health issue, or is it us saying this is okay?
And it's the third. There's a third person. There's the person that's not feeling it, so they can't get up and take a walk or do whatever it is they need to do. Then there's me telling them, are you hurt or are you injured? Because if you're hurt, get up. If you're injured, we'll go to the hospital. But there's a difference. Rub some dirt on it. We're going. We're taking a lap. Here we go. Get up. Let's do it. It's not that person's fault who's sitting around not feeling it. First off, what percentage of people who announce they can't do something because they have a headache actually can't do something because they have a headache? 4%? 1%? What percentage of people cannot do whatever because they have a headache? It's all in there. It's all okay.
Don't tell my husband that.
Can't versus I don't want.
Say that for mom night. All right. So it's not the first person's fault who's sitting on the bed saying I'm not feeling it. It's not my fault who's telling them to get the fuck up. We're going for a walk. It's the third person's fault who sides with the person who's sitting on the bed going, she's done it. He's not feeling it. And you don't understand or whatever. It's that person's fault. And there's way too many of them. The enablers. There's way too many. You don't know how they feel. They need to talk to somebody. You're not an expert. Blah, 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 blah. It's the third person's fault who needs to shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
That's who's fucking up our society, the third person. Yeah.
Well, it is an issue, according to it. They just put up a note. In a recent study, more than 40% of people who knew at least one person with migraine felt that people with migraine use their illness as an excuse to avoid family work or school commitments and or exaggerate their symptoms.
I like that it's written in the third person.
Can I say this? How come every single super effective person I know has never not done something because they had a headache? Is that just a coincidence? I've talked to Mark Geragos 7,000 times. I can't make it today, man. I got a headache. Mark Geragos never gets a headache. Why does Mark Geragos ever get a headache? Why doesn't anyone I know who's super effective ever get a fucking headache? Jay Leno's got a headache. He can't perform this evening. No, he doesn't. He never gets a headache.
You see Jay Leno in the news?
Handing out donuts?
Yeah. Such a sweet guy.
Yeah. Although I love Jay, but I can't figure out if people are doing it because they truly stand with the unions. Because I saw who's that fat actor I hate so much? Gottlieb. Gotti. God damn it. It's a musical fat ass Dumbo. Union guy. Scott. You're going to think of Scott Gott. Come on. You're going to fucking beat yourself up.
I know.
Josh Gad.
Oh.
All right, fat Dumbo actor I disagree with.
Yeah.
I got you.
Say Olaf.
Right. Yeah, that guy. That guy's got the picket sign. He's walking around. But
a bunch of them are, man.
I wonder how much of that is, when the camera leaves, they may leave too.
Well, I will say for Jay, he arrived by himself in his Tesla plane.
That's good.
Handed out 2 boxes of donuts
He's
for
sincere.
80 people.
hey, you people who lead a sedentary life, here's some carbs.
He didn't call the press first, is what you're saying.
No,
they're just like cell phone videos.
Jay's the best. Yeah, he's sincere.
But they are depressed. Maybe they shouldn't be eating donuts. Maybe you should have said, let's go for a run instead.
Well, they're walking. It's most exercise most of these riders have gotten in a long time. I'll just end it with this.
Okay.
If there's a celebrity I like and he's out hanging out with the people on strike, I believe it's sincere. If it's a celebrity I don't like, then they're just poser bullshit actors.
Yeah.
Fuck them.
Better
That's
get
how
on
I
Adam's
come
good
down.
side.
That's how
you really want this to be sincere.
Down. I'll decide whether you're sincere or not by whether I like you or not. That seems consistent, right?
Yeah, that's science.
Yeah, that's science. Yeah.
And where they do it, I think maybe. If they did it from their Malibu mansion door, maybe not. But if they go where the riders are,
Yeah.
give them credit.
Yeah. I was listening to Josh Gad, wasn't it? I was like, okay. Let me just tell you
He's a
something.
very sensitive guy.
Not all writers are good. I've worked with many a shit writer who didn't contribute at all and just hammered checks, number one. It's like saying all American Indians are noble. Some of them were alcoholics and beat on their kids. So they're not all noble. You know what I mean? And he was doing this thing where it's like, we wouldn't have words if they didn't put words. Most guys I know that are funny and like good actors, they could write. They can put their words in their mouth pretty good. Okay. Anyway.
All right, let's move on. So remember a few weeks ago you came up with Atheist B&B?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, where this is because I had some friends who bought or who rented a house for really cheap because a family was murdered in that house. So they lowered the price by a ton and they were able to rent this house for a song. So this is kind of happening now with a couple of islands.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a billionaire, Stephen Deckoff, has bought 2 private islands in the U.S. Virgin Islands, previously owned by Jeffrey Epstein. Yeah, so these 2 islands he got for $60 million. The asking price was $125. So he got them for a steal as well. And his plans for these islands are to turn them into a luxury resort.
Yeah.
With this,
Do the cameras still work?
look, I know that'd be nice if they got all the rollover tech that was there.
They gotta tear down a lot of the structures and stuff. Though,
That's what
right?
I'm saying. Like that would obviously affect the tourism there, right? If you're thinking about that, like, on this island is where underage girls were
Right, like you don't want, if you want to or don't want to stay in a haunted house, like do you or don't you want to stay on the
do you get affected by that kind of stuff?
Haunted? No. Do I want to sleep in the same bed that whatever hell went down on? Hell no.
Well, same walls.
Well, I think
not the same.
I think there's a difference between someone being killed and someone being molested. Like it's a sliding scale. You know, killed, your spirit leaves the earth. You know what I mean? And that's the spot where your spirit left. So it makes some sense to some people that somehow your spirit hit the ceiling and then bounced back down again and is still hanging out there. You
Which
know
is
what
different
I mean?
to if some cute old grandpa died in his sleep. You know, like that's fine. That's just the circle of life, right? That's not
right.
haunted.
So being murdered somewhere is you expiring. This is your innocence is being torn from you, which is bad, but it's not. But you physically at some point get on a boat and leave with your spirit. You know what I mean? Maybe not your hymen, but your spirit gets on the catamaran. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's not as haunted or as bad as the family that's murdered, inside the house, if you care at all. But I'm also assuming that, well, let's just break it down. It's also a sliding scale on decor and structures. Like you go, this is the actual futon the person was murdered in. You'd be like, well, fucking same futon, you know? But if you go, the bed the person was murdered in was taken out and burned in the island. We got a new bed. You'd go, okay, that's a little better. And then if you go, this room was the room, though, and you go, but this room was destroyed. They took a wrecking ball. They took the whole house down, and then they built a new. It's
just the land.
Now that's getting better. Now it's just in the soil. It's like radon, And then they blow up the slab, and then they excavate, and then they build a new resort.
Yeah, how much can you erase?
By the time you build the new resort, I think the cooties and the spirit has been exercised.
Let me ask you this: there's no way he would make any kind of ancillary revenue from it still, right? It's not. I keep thinking, like, if I was listening to, an R. Kelly song, there's that big question over whether does he still make money from that?
So here, I'll tell you. So Epstein's estate and related entities in November agreed to pay the government of the Virgin Islands more than $105 million to settle claims of sex trafficking and child exploitation. That deal also required the estate to pay the Virgin Islands half of the proceeds of the sale from the islands. Yeah, plus another $450,000 addressed damages where Epstein had raised the remnants of structures that were hundreds of years old to make room for development.
Oh, he got rid of them. Maybe they were haunted. Maybe there's like human sacrifice there. He had a good reason.
Gave him the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah.
You could argue, so he only has to pay back 50. He only has to pay 50% of the profit for the island.
Yeah.
So you could argue that by staying on the island, you're giving Jeffrey Epstein money.
Well, look, if they got a
You could argue.
if they got a killer water slide,
Yeah, I'll tell you.
if they got a lazy river, sorry, I'm in.
I know you still listen to R.
So-
Kelly.
Yeah, I didn't know what he did.
So the plan is
That guy rocks.
the state of the plan. I mean, the plan is a state-of-the-art, 5-star, world-class luxury, 25-room resort to help bolster tourism, create jobs, spur economic development.
How
in the
does
region.
one get to this island? Like, I'm looking at boats, like kind of catamarans, kind of medium size. It can't be more than 2 hours away from land, right? Because I'm looking at boats in the harbor that
Yeah.
are kind of medium small. Like, I'm always curious when someone has an island, I'm like, where do you fly into? And then how do you get there once you fly into? But
Yeah, Ben, will you Google how to get to Jeffrey Epstein's island?
or
I
you can-
just
you
want
can
to know what comedian they're going to book first to perform at the resort. That would be great.
Yeah, or you can just check my ways. I was going to go there a few years ago, and things kind of fell
Previously
apart.
visited.
Well, it was before all the hubbub.
Right.
So, yeah, check how long, because I'm looking at a bunch of boats in this harbor.
But that's the big island. So Great St. James is the bigger island. Little St. James, obviously the smaller one, and Little St. James is where all the shit went down.
And those little boats could not travel more than 15, 20 miles, like in the open sea. So it can't be it's got to be close to land-ish. But anyway.
Yeah.
All right.
So Little St. James, by the way, acquired the nicknames of Island of Sin, Pedophile Island, or Orgy Island. And it spans 71.6 acres, includes a helipad, private dock, a gas station, high-capacity water filtration,
Oh, yeah.
2 pools, the main compound, 4 guest villas, 3 private beaches, a gym, and a tiki hut. So it's already stocked with
What are they
stuff.
going to rename it, I wonder? Pedo Island? Like, what do you rename that?
Oh,
Well, pedophile is
Pedophile.
that's
is what Adam came up with. Yeah.
Well, no, I came up
Pedophile.
with a movie called Pedophile many years ago. What is, I don't know, Ben, don't show us a fucking map that we can't read from it. Just tell us how many miles, how far from the thing to the thing. I can't.
Not swimmable, clearly.
Well, we have a satellite picture of it, but I'm not sure what that means. It looks pretty close.
Well, if
but
we want to get there
there's-
from space, we know how.
Right.
Yeah.
I know there's a graphic you're showing us, but I can't tell how far that is. But there's it's close enough that you could take a smallish boat, and he probably took a helicopter.
Bladed it.
I mean, there's a
guess.
helipad, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So might as well. All right. So speaking of schools, in Houston, 2 weeks ago, there was a brawl in the hallway of Westfield High School, and it shows screaming students basically fighting and kind of ganging up on a person. That person, the vice principal. Yeah. So here we have video of it, but
Who is a female?
yeah.
Oh boy.
And warning, distressing content. But here's some video.
It's where's the vice principal?
You'll see her. So they all kind of gang up on her. She's
Gotta
yeah,
get
She in the white
jeans.
cardigan?
Yeah. Oh yes.
Yes.
Yeah. See her backside kind of, and there's this mob of kids just pounding on her.
Oh, it's sad.
There's
Yeah,
no
so-
excuse for that. I mean,
I know. Went to the she went to the hospital. Obviously, she's pursuing legal
Yeah.
action.
For
but-
those who aren't watching this, these are mostly Jewish kids, and I hate to bring that up.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
I know. Yeah, because we have
Yeah.
a lot of listeners, so we should let them know. But
Yeah.
yeah.
What was the
Can you
backstory?
imagine?
No, I listen. I can't imagine anything that's going on now. But it's only 5 miles. All right, it's not too bad. Get there on my Sea-Doo. Put my gal pal on the back. Open that throttle up. 6-pack between the legs.
That's a good weekend right there. Come on.
That's it. Look, Catalina's 26 miles.
Her 6-pack or a 6-pack between your legs?
I got my 6-pack, baby. And then there's hers. Yeah. All right. I'm going to start raising our kids, everybody.
She was trying to break up a fight, and she got.
She caught up in the scrum.
Yeah.
All right, one more.
All right,
got one more?
Yeah, I could do one more. Let's do one more. So, Matthew Lawrence, he was a child actor. I guess he's still an actor, but he was on Boy Meets World, Mrs. Doubtfire.
Mm-hmm.
So he has a podcast with his two brothers. One of them is Joey Lawrence.
Whoa.
I know. So they do a podcast, and in it, he talked about trying to audition for a Marvel role. And,
Whoa.
No, but here's what he had to say about that.
Wait, is this Matthew?
No, well, the person you're seeing right now is Andrew, the youngest.
Oh, okay.
But Matthew, it'll cut over to Matthew.
Men go through this as well, whether it's another woman or another man in power. There's been many times in my life where I've been propositioned to get a huge role. I've lost my agency because I went to the hotel room, which I can't believe they would send me to, of a very prominent Oscar award-winning director who showed up in his robe, asked me to take my clothes off and said he needed to take Polaroids of me, and that if I did X, Y, and Z, I would be the next Marvel character. I didn't do that, and my agency fired me because I left this director's room.
It doesn't. Here's the.
He looks like he should have auditioned for the villain, and he would have got the job. I
I know we have to believe all boys, but I am saying it is weird. You know when people tell you stories and sometimes like somebody will be like, women do this a lot. Men do it. Men who think like women do it a lot. And men, but there's a lot of them now.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? Like they'll go like, I went to the restaurant and I was on time and the maitre d' asked what time my reservations were, and I said 7 o'clock, and it was 7 o'clock exactly, and the person started screaming at me. I'm always like, what do we? It's just something. They just start screaming at you, like so. You went to Harvey Weinstein's villa. He answered in a bathrobe, said he was going to make you Aquaman. But when did you take your pants off? And then you went back to the Gersh agency, and then they fired you. Like it feels weird. It also kind of feels like a liability. Like, hey, I'm William Morris, and I sent my guy over to this guy's house, the thing. And when I got there, he told me to drop my pants. So I left, and I came back and told you guys you're William Morris, and then you dropped me because I didn't suck his dick.
Yeah.
Like, it just feels like there's other components.
Something missing.
Right. We need to show your work.
I'm not saying this guy didn't do that to you. It's the part where you went back and told
the agency
in 2007 or whenever modern times it was, your big, huge multinational agency, hey, here's what happened. I went, you, get out. Like something.
There's something.
We're missing something. They do this thing. They try to include women all the time, and they go, we've all been propositioned, in this situation by powerful men and women. It's like, women never do this shit. I wish they would. They don't. Number two, I never get fucking proposition. Never have.
Oh.
I know.
When has going to someone's house ever been a good idea for a business meeting or an interview?
Or their hotel room.
Never. Yeah.
No, the problem with the hotel is it's plausible. Like what I mean is like I have had many instances where like somebody was in town and they're staying at the Four Seasons and traffic's a mess, and by the way, we want to talk shop and we don't want to be sitting next to some other table, with them over. Come up to my room, we'll order room service and we'll hash it out. I got a suite, that I think it kind of goes to I'm in town sort of thing. Now when they answer in the bathrobe,
but that's with someone you know. This was he was interviewing someone I assume that he didn't have a close relationship with or didn't work with.
No, it'll get into. We'll have a meeting. Yeah, there you can get into a hotel room with someone you don't know, but the bathrobe. See the move.
Yeah, that's an immediate walk away.
What I do is I answer the door fully clothed. sit down, always have a preset tall cran apple that I promptly knock onto my lap. And then I go, oh, Jesus
Silly
Christ,
me.
damn it.
Butterfingers.
Sorry. And then I go into the bathroom. Then I come out
Sorry.
in the hotel bathrobe. That's the move. You don't answer.
Genius.
You got to go.
You need a reason.
Do not go 7-Up, Sprite, or Fresca. You got to go cranberry
Something that
based.
says red wine,
yeah.
maybe.
Mm-hmm.
You're giving them ideas now.
Coffee,
Someone's
yeah.
going to do the reverse on you. I like it.
Yeah. So, whoa. So he could have gotten a job at
a Marvel movie, but yeah, he says that his agency fired him because he didn't proceed with the director's wishes.
But he doesn't say who the director was.
No, he wouldn't name the director, but his point was just, look, men go through this just as much as women do, or also in addition to women. And he did point out Terry Crews's case in his argument.
I don't get the not named. Why no name, though? In this day and age, I mean, the day and age, we've all gone through obviously the Me Too movement. Why would he not? If he's going to come out and say this, why would he not go as far as naming it?
I agree. I don't think men go through this nearly as much as women do at all.
An Oscar-winning director. I mean, how many of those directed a Marvel movie? We could probably narrow it down.
Right.
And Terry Crews got the nut tap sack, right? The backhand nut sack tap.
Yeah, Hollywood agent Adam Vinett, he accused him in 2016 for, basically groping him at a party.
Yeah.
The agent denied. They reached a settlement in 2018.
That was not this. But anyway. All right, listen. Everyone's nuts. Everyone's a victim. God bless. Have fun out there, everybody. All right. So we're doing a little one-on-one with Andrew McCarthy from the Brat Pack. You remember Andrew McCarthy's got a very interesting story. Kimbles, I look forward to seeing you coming up in Solana Beach.
Yes, can't wait.
Tavern. And the Comedy Store coming up tomorrow as you hear this, and Thursday, May 16th as well. House of Comedy. That'll be in Phoenix, Arizona, May 18th. So go to Kimbles Hume, HUME.com for all that.
Kimbles Hume on Instagram, mostly.
And Instagram as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll take a quick break. Andrew McCarthy right after this. Let me tell you about Angie. Angie's List is now Angie, and they've made it easier than ever to get all your home projects done right. I use Angie. Yep, what you, Adam, you can do most everything Angie can do. True, but I'm busy, and I travel, and I have a schedule. So I'll let Angie do a lot of the stuff I don't have time to do, or it doesn't make sense to do. 20-plus years of home service experience, and they're combined with the new tools to simplify the entire process. So make it easy. On the Angie app, just answer a few questions. They'll handle the rest. See ratings and reviews, compare quotes from local pros, and connect instantly. Cross items off the to-do list in just a few taps. Whether it's routine maintenance or a dream remod, well, Angie makes it easy. Right, Dawson?
Get your next project done right with the help of a pro from Angie. Download the free Angie mobile app today or visit Angie.com. That's ANGI.com. The Adam Carolla Show presents Andrew McCarthy's birthday cocktail party for November 29th. Let's see who's invited. Let's welcome the Austrian physicist who developed the Doppler effect, Christian Doppler. The author of the Chronicles of Narnia, C.S. Lewis, has joined the party. Flugelhorn and trumpet player, the great Chuck Mangione, is here. Let's welcome rock guitarist Ronnie Montrose, comedian Gary Shandling, filmmaker Joel Cohen. Howie Mandel is here. So is Kathy Moriarty, Don Cheadle. From New Kids on the Block, Jonathan Knight. It's Kevin from The Office, Brian Baumgartner. Anna Faris is here. So is Chadwick Boseman, Russell Wilson, and American sportscaster and voice of the Dodgers, Vin Scully. Andrew McCarthy is on the Adam Carolla Show.
A lot of range on your birthday, Andrew.
Yeah, I was always very thrilled to be sharing a birthday with Vin Scully, I have to say.
He was the best and did it the longest. Andrew's got a book out called Walking with Sam, a father and son, and a 500-mile walk across Spain. I sort of screwed that up a little, but basically it's you and your son walking for 500 miles across Spain. And I forgot you were such a travel log and you've done so much work writing about travel. So let's talk about that journey. It sounds fascinating, and it also sounds like you'd probably discover a lot of interpersonal things as well.
Yeah, I mean, we walked a thing called the Camino de Santiago, which is this ancient pilgrimage route in the north of Spain. And I did it 27 years ago, and it was a real life changer for me when I did it then. And I'd always wanted to do it again. And my son was just 19 years old and sort of setting out on his own in the world. And I wanted to, when my dad, I left home at 17, and my relationship with my dad basically ended, and I didn't want that to happen with my kids. So, yeah, we walked Spain together and learned a lot.
Yeah, it's a really interesting time in that the relationship with parents and kids is completely different than it was when we were young. When we were young, your parents kind of wanted you to leave, get out of their hair. Like it was understood that I bothered adults and they didn't want to be bothered.
I think that's really true. And I didn't want that to be the case with because my kids don't bother me. Well, I mean, sure they do, but I didn't want it to be the end of our relationship. So, and he was also going through a lot. So I thought it would be a good way for him to, it's one of the great luxuries that we have with adult children is time, because usually my son's running through the room and I'm like, hey, you want to get some sushi? Okay, I'll see you later. And, we had a whole country to sort of talk and not talk and fight and not fight. And it was a big deal for both of us, I think.
So you left at 17, you left for NYU?
I did. I left New Jersey for NYU. It was only a few miles across through the tunnel, but that was the end of it for me, really. I never went back.
And was it always about acting?
By the time I was 17, yeah. I mean, when I was 15, I discovered acting. When I was, I walked out on stage as the Artful Dodger in my play in high school, and that changed my life. I kind of went, oh, that's what I'm going to be. I had no idea. And then I had a kind of white light experience where I was like, wow, that's what I'm going to do. I had no idea how I would do it. I'd never met an actor. I didn't know any actors or anything like that. But when you're young, you don't know anything is impossible. So, yeah, that's just where I was going to point myself. I knew it was important too, because I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell my parents. I didn't tell anybody. I just kept that to myself because I thought, anybody could have squashed that little flame.
But you only lasted 2 years at NYU?
Yeah, they kicked me out.
Why?
Yeah. Well, I didn't go. I mean, I went to my acting classes, but I didn't go to my regular school part because it wasn't of interest to me. I used to go back in the day there in New York. There were all these revival houses, movie revivals, and I used to go every Tuesday and Thursday. I would spend every Tuesday and Thursday afternoon in the dark watching the revival at the revival houses, watching Marlon Brando and Montgomery Clift and Jimmy Stewart and all that. That's how I learned about movie stars. Really, was watching them.
What was, as I look down at your list of credits, and I'm right in your wheelhouse. I mean, I just watched a crap out of Pretty in Pink and St. Elmo's Fire and all those movies like Class and Less Than Zero. They're really timestamps of the 80s. Like Less Than Zero is, if someone said, if my kid said, what was LA like in the 80s? I would say, go watch Less Than Zero, and you'll pretty much know what the vibe was in LA in 1985. Yeah,
I'd say that's true. I don't think that's a very good indictment, but I think that's true. And those movies, they were of a time. They captured, you hear a song from that. I'm in the store all the time and I hear, like Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now from Starship, from Mannequin. And I'm like, oh my God. And I'm brought right back to it. The other day I heard the St. Elmo's Fire theme song, which you never hear anymore. And after I got done cringing, I just was like, wow, it just took me right back to it, But there's some great music from those films in the 80s. I just finished I'm in the process of finishing making a documentary about the Brat Pack, where I went back and I talked to a bunch of the old gang who I hadn't seen in decades and decades. And it was really interesting to revisit everybody in that time.
Well, I'm kind of shuffling through the Brat Pack in my head. And everyone's still alive, right?
Yeah.
Amazingly, because they had to go through some tough drug years and rehab, and God knows what could have happened in the lawless 80s and early 90s. And everyone's kind of doing their own thing. And there was different levels of stardom that was reached, and people went different directions. But the official Brat Pack, I mean, obviously, was it everyone in St. Elmo's Fire pretty much, and then Molly Ringwald? Like who are we missing? Who am I missing?
It was pretty much the cast of St. Elmo's Fire. I think that's sort of the epicenter. That and Breakfast Club, I think, define what Brat Pack was.
And which was first for you? Like, what was the first break for you?
Well, the first movie I did was called Class with Jacqueline Bisset and Rob Lowe. I'd just been kicked out of college like 2 weeks before, and I was wondering how I was going to tell my parents I was not going to college anymore. And a friend called me and said, there's an ad in Backstage Magazine, which was the unemployed actors newspaper, and they're casting a movie. They're looking for somebody 18, vulnerable, and sensitive. And I was like, dude, that's me. So anyway, I went to this open call, meaning anybody could go to this audition, and I did. And with 500 other 18 vulnerable and sensitive kids, and 10 auditions later, I was plucked from the weeds and put in the movies. But the first, and that movie was a bomb when it came out. But I'd say St. Elmo's Fire was the third movie I did that changed my life, and then Pretty in Pink came after that. And suddenly I was famous among a certain generation of people.
Pretty in Pink was John Hughes?
It was. He wrote it and produced it. He didn't direct it, which everybody thinks he did, but it has his imprint all over it, But yeah, that was John Hughes. He'd written that for Molly Ringwald, and yeah.
Yeah, he died relatively young, right?
He was fairly young, yeah.
Well, young. See, nobody dies young when you're 31 and they're 48. You don't think they're young, and then you.
Well, to me now he was young, yeah.
If you blink your eyes and you're 10 years older than John Hughes was when he died now.
Yeah, really?
And now it's young. I don't know. I'll put it to my crack staff. How old was John Hughes when he died? But I don't feel like, I don't know if he's underrated, but his impact is more significant than people give him credit for.
Oh, well, we forget now, but those movies started the transition in Hollywood basically toward youth culture in a way that didn't exist before. Before in the 70s and earlier, movies were for adults and about adult things, the auteurs and all this kind of stuff. And movies weren't about kids until the early 80s. And then suddenly Hollywood realized, hey, these kids are going to these movies 5, 6, 7 times. Adults only go once. Let's make movies for kids. And so the Brat Pack was born basically, and John Hughes. And, the movies have never recovered from that. It's still about an adolescent mentality, which we take for granted now. But that wasn't always the case. And it started with those movies in the early 80s and mid 80s.
Yeah, Super Mario Brothers just passed $1 billion. If there's any indication that they're making movies for young people now, John Hughes.
I heard the movie was really good, though.
Oh, it's got to be good. I mean, that's kind of the whole thing. It has to be good.
And that's the thing about those John Hughes movies. They were really good. They took young people seriously and young people's problems seriously, because there's no more self-important time than when you're a teenager and all the angst you're feeling is the most angst anyone has ever felt in the history of humanness. And, you're falling in love is the first time anyone has ever been in love. And, John Hughes took those emotions seriously and honored them with kids. And so it was a big deal. Kids felt seen for the first time.
John Hughes was 59 when he died.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, so a little later than I thought, but you're 60, so.
Yeah, I got him beat.
I'm going to turn 59 in a few weeks, so.
Watch out.
Yeah, I know. Got the angel of death known as John Hughes on my shoulder.
I have to tell you, turning 60 was a real mind twister for me. I'd never blinked at 40 or 50, but 60 was suddenly like, wow, that's like the beginning of being old. And like I was famous for being young, and like I am the memory of youth for so many people. To suddenly become at the beginning of being like elderly or something is shocking.
Yeah, well, the scary part about that and this is that how much time speeds up. So not only you're not jogging toward the grave, you're sprinting toward it at this point, because that's
good. No, thanks, Adam.
Well, I've included myself in that 5K.
But I think there's some kind of math where that actually is the case. There's some kind of relationship. I'm not smart enough to figure that out, but I think it's not just perception. I think mathematically that seems to be the case. And I don't know. But yes, it does feel.
You know, my theory on that is the drive from LA to San Francisco, which is the first time you do it, it's forever. And the second time you do it, it's a little less, but it's still a long haul. And then at some point, you just go back and forth. You don't even think about it. The distance is the same. The time is the same. But in your mind, it's a completely different feeling. And I feel the same way with getting old. The time between 15 and 25 was forever. Just forever. And the time between 45 and 55, it was a blink of the eye. And then you have kids, and then that speeds it up because somehow they grow fast, they change fast, and that speeds it up in your own aging process.
Yeah, sometimes the days are long with those kids, but yes, I agree with you completely. Yeah, that's weird. When you talk about going to San Francisco, it reminds me of like if you miss a turn on the freeway or and you can't turn around, and it feels like forever until you can get off the next exit, and then you turn around, you come back, and it's like, oh, it was only 2 seconds. It was really quick. Yeah, but it is all perception. Yeah.
Does so for you? But you can tell me. I know guys that are travel guys and experienced guys. And then I know guys that are stuff guys. And like Jay Leno's a stuff guy. He likes stuff. He likes old steam engines and old steam cars and things and tools and stuff. But he's definitely not a travel guy unless he's got a corporate gig. You are a travel experience guy who I think it's a better life led. And I wish I was more of that kind of person. But I don't know any travel guys and stuff guys. So I would bet you don't have a bunch of stuff. You're more experience oriented.
I had never thought of it like that. And you're exactly right. I can't think of anything that I have that if I didn't have it, I would miss, except like my computer, because it's got all my stuff on it. But I think that's true. I totally am an experience. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Yeah. I can't think of anything that if it went away, if I didn't have it, I would miss.
Yeah, it's weird how consistent that is. And I guess the stuff guys don't like to travel because they don't like being away from their stuff. And the travel guys and the experienced guys don't have a bunch of stuff that's sort of beckoning them to come back.
I'm not going to drag it around, and I don't want, I'm not rushing back to my stuff. Yeah. But see, look at Jay Leno. He gets blown up by his car and gets, so I'd rather have experiences.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could get shot in Spain, but higher chance you probably blow up your steam engine in Burbank. So walking with literally walking the 500 miles.
Yeah.
Do you map the whole thing out in advance? Like we're going to do 13 miles today and then we're going to stop at this place?
The thing about it is it's an ancient pilgrimage which has been going on for centuries. Millions of people have walked this over the centuries, and it requires absolutely no skill of any kind. There are literally arrows, yellow arrows, painted on the ground or on rocks or trees across the entire country, and all you have to do is sort of follow it. So it requires nothing but a pair of walking shoes, and you're doing nothing but walking and finding food and a place to sleep, which is easy enough to do because you're not in the wilderness. It's not like you're on the Appalachian Trail where you've got your whole world on your back and you've got to know how to camp and survive, But it was one of those that you just kind of go. It requires no expertise or plan or skill. It just requires sort of a willingness to go. And, when my son said he'd go with me, I literally went from that room into the next room to my computer and bought 2 plane tickets, and we were in Spain 2 days later because I knew he would change his mind if he had time to think about it.
For those who would like to endeavor upon this walk, what's a good month to do it, a good season to do it, and how many days are we talking about?
We walked for about a month, 31, 32 days, I think. That's about the norm. And we did it in August, which is blisteringly hot in northern Spain. Like anything, May and September are always the best months to do anything, aren't they? Weather-wise. But any time is great. It's most crowded in the summer, but it's also, it's a real life-changing thing. I've always recommended for people that are in kind of had some kind of traumatic thing happen in their life, or they're looking for something in their life, or they're just questioning something. A friend of mine had a big job and he got fired. And I said, dude, you need to go walk the Camino. And he said, I don't need to walk across the country. I need to get a job. I was like, dude, you need to walk the Camino. And he eventually did. And he came back and said, that was the best thing I ever did. Thank you. And he got a great job. But it's a real interesting thing how it sort of takes us deeper into ourselves in a way that is really surprising. And I'm not the only, everyone I know who's ever done this had the same experience. And my son did, and we did as a unit, as a father-son. It changed our dynamic completely. And there's something about walking too that just sort of burns away the hamster wheel in the brain, and just sort of brings you back down to yourself in a way that's really, surprising.
I've always felt like the best conversations were had while walking.
Absolutely.
And I remember talking to a friend of mine about this once, and he said there's something physiological going on. There's something about right, left, right brain, left brain, that it's not just you being in nature or sort of just movement, but there's something actual physiological that goes on that sort of frees you up to have more earnest and honest and interesting conversations if you're both sort of on foot.
I agree completely. And that's the speed at which we were born to process things and what we've gotten so away from. And without question, I think that's interesting. The right brain, left brain part. I think that's interesting. And it's totally true. You look at all the famous writers who always talk about how walking clarified, and you get ideas by walking, and you're thinking about something else, and suddenly that thing you've been struggling with for a week comes clear while you're walking. All that. There's huge documented proof that walking is amazing for emotional, mental clarity.
Yeah, as I'm actually thinking about it, like back in the day, when you'd watch a movie and the couple would get into an argument, the guy would announce, I got to go walk. I got to clear my head. Like walking meant clearing your head. Now it's like, I got to look at some internet porn and reevaluate. You know what I mean? But
exactly.
There was a lot of walk it off too. It was
walk it off. Yeah.
There was a physical walk it off, like when I'd play Pop Warner football and somebody would get dinged up, the coaches go walk it off. And there was an emotional walk it off. So I'm a big proponent of walking it off. Maybe that should be the name of your next book. And I do think you have conversations, and maybe like you can go to lunch with a friend. But when you go to lunch with a friend, you sit across the table with them and you sort of look at them and you find yourself trying to read their face a lot.
Yeah.
And you also have a lot of, oh, that guy got the club sandwich. I wish I'd got that. Like as it goes by you, like you just do. I wish I'd ordered that instead of what I ordered. But when you're walking, I think there's something about being side by side and not having to sort of evaluate everyone's look and gaze, and just sort of being in nature that frees up the process as well.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. If I try and sit my son down to have a talk, I'm not going to get very far. But walking, we used to start walking every day, and I would just not speak because I knew he had a lot of going on in his life, and I knew just wait it out, it's going to come. And then whether it was a half hour, 5 minutes, or an hour, suddenly go, so anyway, so then blah, 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 and it would all come pouring out, And there's something great about not having to look at each other. It's like when people often have candid conversations in a car too. There's a distraction out there. We don't have to look at each other or avoid each other's eyes. We're going here. And there's something about movement, the sense of movement that helps us process. It's, I think it's a real value. And walking is vastly underestimated. As a useful, I used to think it was just the slowest way to get anywhere.
Right.
But, the opposite is true, I think.
How long on average would you guys walk a day?
Yeah, like 7, 8 hours. You're walking about 15 miles a day. And you know, it's what you do in the whole day. So you can take stock, have a coffee for a while, and then you realize, oh, I can't move my legs if I stay here much longer. We got to go. But it's what you do it. You know what I mean? And there's great, you know, it's what you're doing. And the amazing thing in that is that it was never boring. There was nothing boring about it because you're really revealed. Your mental patterns, your sort of emotional cycles all get kind of revealed to you in a way that it was constantly fascinating.
The switching gears, the Brat Pack doc you're working on. How far into it are you? What do you think?
Yeah, pretty close to being done. Pretty close. I'm looking. We'll finish it up, and then hopefully, we'll in the fall. Hopefully, it's out. So that was really interesting to go back and do, and you know, I realized how much affection I had for my youth that I never had before. And for those guys, like seeing Rob or Emilio for the first time in 30 years and sort of like having such affection for them, that was a great surprise.
Was there a lot of competition back then?
Sure. Yeah, I think there was. I think now we realize none of that matters. Who cares? But I think there was at the time. Sure. And when you're young, you know, and all this stuff is coming at you, you're scared, or I was anyway. And you're just scrambling and trying to do the next thing and land on your feet, you know. So I think there was a lot of competition and jockeying going on, sure.
Were you able to sit down with everyone you wanted to sit down with?
There were a couple of people that didn't want to chat, which was interesting because, you know, the Brat Pack was such a traumatic thing for everybody. Now it's this iconically affectionate term for a moment in pop culture, you know, and people wax about their youth. Oh, the Brat Pack, you know. But at the time, it was a pretty scathing term that was, you know, because of one new magazine article, New York Magazine. You know, it's interesting that in all our culture now with all the social media and everything, all the outlets, it was one magazine for 1 week, and within days, the whole country was using the term Brat Pack, and 35 years later, we're still using it. You know, and that was really interesting to me. But it was originally we hated it. It was really a negative term, and in this film industry, it was used as, you know, it affected negatively our careers, I think, very much because it made it seem like they just want to party and they're not interested in really being serious about this. So for it to go from the journey of that to being this iconically warm and fuzzy thing all these years later is kind of amazing, I think. But yeah, we hated it at the beginning, for sure.
Who didn't want to sit down and talk, if you don't mind?
Oh, well, why bother? See the movie. You know, I still think...
Ali Sheedy, I'm going to go with.
No, Ali chatted. She's lovely and had wonderful insights. You know, what's interesting is that everybody kind of had the same experience of it. How everybody's processed it slightly differently. But people all the same experience. If like it felt like somebody walked up beside you and took a 2x4 and hit you up the side of the head. That's what being labeled the Brat Pack was like.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering, you know, now everybody is chronicled on TikTok. I mean, young, you know, 15-year-olds, you know, everybody is filmed, like literally filmed doing everything from the time they're born until the grave. And it doesn't seem to be as big a chasm now between being a star and there's too many stars. There's too many streamers. There's too many networks. There's too many people. I mean, I have people tell me all the time, oh, no, this guy's huge. He's on this show on Amazon Prime. And I go, I don't even know what that is. Yeah, I've never seen this guy before. You know, there's no such thing as a celebrity.
That's because we're dinosaurs, dude.
I know. No, I get it. I'm old. But what I'm saying is there was no such thing as a celebrity that 80% of America hadn't heard of when you guys were blowing up. Now you can be a bona fide celebrity, and most, you know, I could walk around Los Angeles and ask people who Doja Cat was, and they'd think it was a kind of food. You know, like they'd have no idea who Doja Cat was, but she's a big star, you know what I mean? But there was no such thing as who's Molly Ringwald. I've never heard of her in, you know, 1987.
Well, you know, that's because there was a unified youth pop culture then, and everybody's focus was on that, you know? One of the people I talked to in the movie for the Brat Pack was Malcolm Gladwell, who's, you know, he's Mr. Social Science and this kind of thing. And he pointed that out really clearly that like you get 100 teenagers, 90% of them would have been able to talk with knowledge about Pretty in Pink. And now, you know, whoever that person you just mentioned was, I don't know how many out of 100 would be able to know who that was, And yeah, it's a different time for sure. My son asked me yesterday, he goes, well, like, you weren't as famous as like Timothy Chalamet, were you? And I was like, I don't know, actually. But back in the day, if you were there in 1985, 86, 87, and you were of that generation, you knew who we were. And that's were we as famous as Timothy Chalamet is now? I don't know. I couldn't answer that.
No, I'll answer it for you because modesty prevents you from answering it. Yes, but so was Bo and Luke Duke of the Dukes of Hazzard. So.
Well, that brings up to mind the whole thing of, however much we disliked the Brat Pack, if I was the same guy who did the same movies and the Brat Pack label did not exist, I would have just been some guy who did a bunch of 80s movies. But because I was part of the Brat Pack, I'm part of this iconic thing that has given me a kind of legacy that wouldn't exist without that label.
Yeah, so circling back to a thought I didn't finish, which is young people are used to being chronicled on film, and you could go on the internet and find 1,000 hours of an average 15-year-old girl on YouTube somewhere, whatever. But back in the day, you went from total obscurity to total popularity. I mean, it was a whiplash kind of thing. You didn't sort of ease your way into the hot tub. You dove from the hot tub into the snowbank and back into the hot tub. Like, I feel like, it's like I got a 16-year-old daughter. She's taken 10,000 pictures of herself and she's not graduated high school yet. Like, if she ever becomes a celebrity, it's going to feel a little bit like more of the same for her. But you guys had to deal with this all at once from sort of 0 to 60 in 3.7 seconds.
And it all looks kind of very quick. When I was in that documentary, you pull out all these clips and everything from then. And it all seems kind of quaint now when you look at it. But we certainly did feel like we were on the leading edge of it all, for sure. And it was a bit of a whiplash. Yeah, I'd say so.
Where might we find this documentary?
When might you find it?
Or where? Where and when?
Well, I have it. Well, that to be revealed. It's not. I'm going to sell it once we finish it.
So I make docs too. So I'm just asking.
Yeah.
Is your method? Let's go shoot the doc. Let's make the doc, or let's get some funding for the doc and let's make it, and then let's shop it around.
Yeah, Neon is the production company, and then we decided let's just make it, and then we'll go. We felt like, if we make a good movie, then we can go sell it.
Well, it's definitely going to have a bunch of household names in it. And I'm kind of surprised no one thought of this earlier, because it was such a phenomenon.
I've been approached, and I know all the other people have been, countless times over the years to do documentary. And I always said no. And I know everyone else did too. But because one of us was doing it from the inside, as it were, people were, like Emilio said, and came around and said, I never would have done this if you didn't call me. Like, people ask me all the time to do retrospectives or do a Brat Pack thing. And the only reason I'm doing it is because you called, because you were there. You were one of us. So, that's why it hasn't happened. Because other people, like I said, I've been asked dozens of times to do a Brat Pack documentary. I'm like, no, thanks.
Oh, really? Yeah, it makes sense. You guys were so ubiquitous and the story's so interesting that it just seems perfect. It just seems like the perfect topic for a doc. I don't know how it's yours to screw up, and I imagine you didn't. But
well put. And I'm doing my damnedest.
Well, I'll plug the book for that slight insult. Walking with Sam, a father, a son, and 500 miles across Spain. And it's
you got it right that time, Adam.
I know. I have a disability. Available tomorrow as you hear this, where you find finer books. I like to add that. And you can shoot Andrew a tweet at Andrew T. McCarthy as well. Website, andrewmccarthy.com as well. And when the Brat Pack doc comes out, I hope you'll come back and give it a plug. I will be waiting with bated breath.
Yeah, love to.
Always great catching up with you, my friend, and I hope to talk soon.
Yeah, I hope so, Adam. Thanks for having me.
Andrew McCarthy and me, I'm going to be in Vegas. I'm going to be in Oklahoma City. I'm going to be in New York City, Solana Beach. You just go to adamcarolla.com and find out where all the live shows are. And until next time, it's Adam Carolla for Andrew McCarthy saying mahalo.